Hello, everyone, and welcome to another developer stream. We are very excited to have you here with us today. As you saw in that little trailer right there, we are having our free weekend. If you haven't noticed yet, the free weekend is now live, and it's going to be live up until this coming Monday. So if you are watching Chivalry 2 content for the very first time, you haven't purchased the game yet, definitely check it out. It is on the Epic Game Store right now for free all weekend long. We're super excited to have you here. I have two special guests with me today. You can see them on screen. I've got Mike, who is a first time guest to the stream, and I've got reoccurring guest, Mr. Moon Moon. Say hi, guys.
Hello, everyone. All right. This is like the first time, or I think it's the second time seeing that trailer, and it's just like, it just gets better every time.
It makes me so hype. I don't know if that's a little I don't know, self-absorbed that it's all accolades. It just makes me feel really excited that it's like, oh, people said all those nice things about us.
Not at all. For all the trailers that we've put out for trailers for other games that we've loved, like I'll just rewatch them multiple times just because there's so much energy to them, and I could just keep watching them.
Oh yeah, every time I see a new trailer, I just want to play Chivalry 2 again. Love it.
I hope you guys have been enjoying the first few hours of the free weekend if you're lucky and you get to be playing right now and you're not at work, like some of us. But we're super excited to be working today and bringing you what we are going to be calling our combat deep dive developer stream today. So Mike today, he's joining us. Mike, do you want to tell us a little bit about what you do at Torn Banner?
Sure. So I'm a gameplay programmer / technical designer. I primarily work on the gameplay, the combat system, anything related to just the core game.
So, what has your history been with Shiv 2? Did you know about it before you started at Torn Banner, or have you been kind of working your way through it since you got here?
So back in the day, I played Chivalry 1, and it was mind-blowing. It was like playing Call of Duty, but with swords. And after I played it, I haven't really thought about it for years, but then I noticed it was an opening. I'm like, oh wow, this is like my childhood fantasy of like actually working on the next part of the game. So um, here I am today.
Awesome. I see there's quite a few of you in the chat. If you have any questions for Mike, feel free to jot them down in the chat at any time. We do have a little bit of a structure that we plan to go through today, but if you have any questions about the combat system as a whole, or maybe something that we're going through while we're chatting, feel free to let us know and we'll do our best to address those questions in chat. So I am going to be loading up my game here. I'm hoping it's not going to be too loud. We're going to find out. You guys are going to get yelled at. That's what's going to
Someone loves
happen.
you in chat, Mike. Shout out to Voltigex. Jeez, I'm gonna butcher all these names.
Yeah.
Do I just say like the first letter so I avoid that? We'll see.
Yeah, I love you too.
Most importantly, we happen to line the free weekend up with St. Patty's Day. So I am the St. Patty's Day rep of the day for today, and I would just want to say there's no better time after work. If you're looking to get your friends into the game, you can grab some beers if you're old enough, um, and then you can just try it out. It's a lot of fun, and that's what I'm going to be doing this evening.
I appreciate that you specified.
If you're old enough,
I'm actually a
yeah,
little,
I'm going to
yeah,
open
I'm a
this
little
game to you.
festive too. I wore my green sweater for St. Patty's Day.
Feel a
Shout
little
out to Jen.
guilty. Oh yeah, sorry. Go ahead, Mark.
Oh no, just we have the Jen's green aesthetic, but we also have like her background aesthetic of all like the greenery. That's awesome.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I tried some new stream setup in the background. Blurring or removing wasn't working as normal, so my children are joining us behind me today. They're extra festive with all their green stuff back there.
I think it's pretty safe to say that the chat can appreciate your children as much as we do. So
I hope so. I'm trying to let me. I just don't want to show where we're gonna go before we do it. But let me I should have wrote it down before I switched this window. I'll let you guys ask us some questions in the chat while I get this going.
That's pretty
Poker
impressive,
Goblin.
Poker Goblin.
Yeah.
Yeah. What
Over
level
200
are you right now?
hours.
I think I only reached level 68 last night. It was just like, oh, I wish I had all the time I counted for outside of the live game to like go towards my total level. But then people would probably make fun of me for being so high level but so bad at the same time.
I
So
feel
Speaking of
embarrassed.
speaking of high level, our friend Pizza Steve. If you're active on the Reddit, you may have noticed that Pizza Steve reached level 1000 pretty recently. So we're pretty excited for that. I think he's definitely the first person in the community to do so.
Yeah, shout out to Pizza Steve. That's impressive. I feel embarrassed. I'm only level 48.
Right? Like he's got way more than I do.
Looks like Typer did as well. Wow, geez, you guys are way ahead of
Wait,
us
we
now.
got more now? I should check the back end stats to see how many we've got now.
If you go past max level, you just go right into the negatives. This is a joke, by the way.
You have to start over. That's what we should do.
Prestige, yeah.
All
There we
right.
go. Looks like we're on the game now.
Yeah. Sorry about the
So I'll be
delay
keeping an eye
there.
on the server, and you guys, I guess, kind of lead this.
Yeah. Let me swap right over here. Beautiful. Okay. We are ready to go. So we are on tournament grounds today, and we're going to be doing what we're calling our deep dive of combat, which is we're going to start off with some more beginner stuff. So if you're familiar with the game, you might find it a little bit repetitive since it's not new information for you. But we do want to include those people who may be playing for the first time during the free weekend, and hopefully we can help them out and give those some entry level tips. Once we get through the entry level tips, we'll be going into detail into some of the more complicated stuff that you may not know. There's a few of you over level 1000. You may know these things, but I guess we'll see. If you find anything educational or brand new, do let us know, and we'll have felt a little bit of accomplishment teaching you something new. So, the very beginning. How about we go some of the super beginner stuff of Chivalry too? Like, say that this person who's playing in the free weekend, they've never played Chiv before. How would we teach them to play Chivalry? Obviously, we're playing with a weapon versus like a first-person shooter who we would be the most comparable to, but Chiv's actually quite a lot different than a first-person shooter.
Yeah.
It's good to mention too that like we're going to be talking a lot about a lot of these skills as well. But if you're a new player, we would recommend going into this tutorial because it gives you a good overview. But we'll go into some more details as well today.
Our tutorial is actually pretty good. I'd check it out if you haven't.
Yeah, absolutely. But for now on, we can give kind of like a mini tutorial. We should start with the basic attacks. So, Jen, if you don't mind showing them the 3 standard attack types. So firstly, we got a slash.
We got a slash.
And we'll show all of them and explain the purpose for each. You can do an overhead and a stab. So with the slash, it has a wide arc, so it's great for hitting multiple opponents. That being said, you got to be careful with it because you're also going to hit your teammates. So you don't want to be that guy all the time.
So that is especially true with one of our newest weapons, the Highlander Sword. I remember that being one of the key pieces of feedback because it's such a big sword. People are like, how am I supposed to avoid team damage when I'm just slashing and hitting everybody?
Yeah, for sure. But another thing is it's great for versing multiple enemies because with the slash, you're likely to hit 2 people at once. So I can demonstrate that. I can hit both of you and kind of get away from the damage.
think that's one of my favorite things about the Highland Sword is not only does it have a slash, but it has the super special, which is the full. I think it's a full 360 of just slash energy.
Oh yeah,
Super dangerous, and I don't think it has hit stop or hitting teammates either. So it's you have to be really careful.
yeah, for sure. The Highland has its, although it's slow, it's very strong, and it's great for crowd control.
Yeah,
Ouchie.
even as a I think we probably should mention it somewhere near the beginning here is that Chivalry 2 does offer quite a few different weapons and weapon types. And each of the weapons has like their own weapon speed, weapon damage. So obviously the beginner stuff that we're showing you here, we've got kind of one weapon each, but each of the weapons is going to vary just a little bit in terms of those speed and damage and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll continue. We'll show the overhead. So with the overhead, it's great for dealing a lot of damage, and it's also a more precise hit. So, instead of sweeping across the whole battlefield, I can pinpoint my attack and hit an individual.
Oh.
Yeah. And the stab is similar in that sense, where you can kind of direct your attack at one opponent. But generally speaking, the range of the attack is slightly further, especially with like spears. So you can kind of poke people and maintain your distance. Yeah, so those are the basic attack types. And so that's offense. But if your defense, you're gonna want to hold your block. So Jen, if you want to hit me with any attack type. So as a defender, I have multiple options. The most basic option is to hold my parry. So right now I'm holding down the right mouse button. Or did I say right mouse button? And what that'll allow me to do is any attack that hits me in the front, I'll be able to parry and take no damage. So that's the core sort of defense. Another option to kind of get away from the danger is to dash away. So if you want to swing at me, Jen,
Absolutely.
I can avoid the damage by leaping back. I'm holding S and then pressing space. So with the dash, I can increase the distance between my opponent and change my positioning.
I actually don't see. I think the dash in particular is one thing I don't see like newer players do. There is a lot of blocking, obviously. Blocking is kind of more intuitive, but you can actually dash and basically left, right, back. You can get away. You can give yourself space if you're need some space between you and the enemy, rather than repeatedly taking hits and draining your stamina that way.
I find one thing that we really do a lot of in this game as well is we have the 1 versus 1, which is the duels, but we also have a lot of 1 versus X, which is you versus multiple players. And these movement options are so important to kind of making sure that you're keeping your opponents in front of you, because as soon as an opponent gets behind you, you don't have visibility on them. So you're going to want to dash away. You're going to want to reorient yourself. And then you can keep them kind of on your eyes, because then you can also define what their attacks are and engage them based on that.
Yeah, that's a great point, actually. I can demonstrate that real quick. So if I'm versing you two, the worst position I can be in is, think of an Oreo. So if you guys are the chocolate cookies and I'm the vanilla cream, I do not want to be in this spot because I can only pay attention to one of you, and I can only parry what's in front of me. So if you both attack me, I'm gonna take damage. So what I can do is I want the two chocolate cookies to touch each other, and I want the cream to leave. But by the way, we're not sponsored by Oreo.
I wish. Hook us up, Oreo.
Yeah. So the best position I can be in is when I see both of you. I can block both your attacks. I can see what exactly is going on. I could even dash away and just run for the hills.
Yeah, exactly. The ability to move around is what we call footwork. So if you ever see somebody say that on Reddit and you're like, are these people talking about dancing? No, they're talking about your positioning between yourself and the enemies around you.
Exactly. We could talk about, so we talked about some offense, we talked about some defense, but we can now talk about how to respond to an attacker. So if Jen attacks me, sure, I can block her attack, but what do I do next? I have multiple options. I can perform a Repost Attack, and what that is after successfully parrying an attack, I can queue another attack, and I'll be able to respond with a quicker attack. So if we demonstrate that, I can riposte and kind of regain initiative, and she has to respond. So that's the general back and forth. If we want to just kind of fight back and forth with blocking. So,
Sorry.
oh, yeah, no worries. So you can attack me. This is sort of the back and forth. So I block, you block, I block. And as a beginner, it's highly encouraged to just get familiar with this back and forth system and understand the sort of timing windows and the range of your weapon.
Yeah, timing windows, I think, are something that takes a little practice. It takes a little bit of time to read what the other weapons look like in their various types of attacks. So if you feel like you're getting dominated or you're getting hit more often than you're hitting other people, it's something to pay attention to. Is like, what attack do you think that the enemy is going to make, and how can you best counter that attack?
Yeah, I think that's where some of the good skill curve comes into this game as well,
Mhm.
because we have all these attack options, and there's so many different ways to play, and each person has their own combat style. But reading all the different weapons that we have in the game, and there's dozens at this point, and having them just to make sure that you can respond, and they each have their own different timings and everything. And we hosted shout out to the Tournament Ground server, who hosted a tournament recently called Trial by Blood,
Nope.
and
We got some
a lot
friends
of
here.
their we got some company. One sec.
Mike's just
And we noticed that a
getting
lot of
back
high
in.
level players there are really good at that and being able to respond depending on what people are facing.
Yeah, it's really fun to watch like 1v1 duels that are really uh like high skill curve, and you can kind of see the people that have put in a lot of time and analyzed all of the different timings and different weapons and all of the different moves that are possible. That's kind of like the thing about Shiv is like there's a wide range of things and it can feel a little bit overwhelming. But if you just master kind of the basics that we've said right now, you're going to be better off than the super noob who's never played anything.
Yeah, and that's the great thing about Chivalry. There's so many mechanics, but the skill floor is the barrier of entry is actually quite nice. Like with basic mechanics, you can actually survive and be useful. It's not like trying another game where that's super competitive. If you're a beginner, you just die immediately. At least in this game, you have a chance.
Yeah, as long as you know how to attack, block, and ideally how to create space between you and the enemy, you're going to be able to accomplish, getting a few kills and feeling like you know what you're doing most of the time.
We've talked a little bit about the basics, and I know some players who have been with us for quite a while. They're like, we already know that and stuff. But do we want to go into some of the other things that we're talking about? The first basic advanced mechanic is countering, I guess. But there's so much more than that. We can start with that, maybe.
Sure. Okay, so what is a counter? We can demonstrate that. If you want to slow-mo this server.
We got high production value. Slow-mo.
All right, so Jen, I'm gonna hit you with a slash. I want you to counter this.
All right. That was too slow. I should have swung. My bad.
Okay.
No, I think the slow plus me streaming is making my timing very slow.
Yeah. No worries.
Here, how about Mark does it and I'll watch from the third person perspective.
Sure, no worries.
1 second, I'll be right there.
All right, so I'm gonna hit Mark with the slash right now. So right there, he performed a counter. So what exactly is a counter? A counter is when you initiate attack from block. So if I'm holding my parry down, and then you perform a slash, your character will enter a counter window, and if an attack hits you within that window of the same type, you'll be able to block it and continue your attack. So we'll demonstrate that one more time. So people might be wondering, what's the difference between a counter and a riposte? Well, a riposte is when Mark blocks my attack and then goes for a follow-up attack. Whereas a counter, he holds block and initiates attack before my attack even lands. Now, it's riskier to counter because he has to match my attack type. If I do an overhead and Mark tries to counter with a slash, he's going to get punished and take damage. So it's super important to pay attention to what sort of attack type your enemy is doing. We can demonstrate an overhead counter attack. I'm going to try that. And then we'll do a stab one. Another benefit of countering is you don't actually lose any stamina for defending with a counter, whereas a riposte, like the actual act of blocking, reduces your stamina. And lastly, the next benefit is if Mark counters me, my character gets pushed back, which is great because it gives him more distance. And it's really useful if you're versing multiple opponents. If you counter them, they kind of get pushed back and you have space to breathe.
Yeah, I can actually see that quite well from this perspective. Viewers in the chat, you can also see the different types of sparks that are happening here. The sparks that occur when there is a successful riposte happening.
Yeah. Generally, we have a color scheme.
Mm-hmm.
So like yellow sparks represent a block, but blue sparks represent a successful counter. So if we want to show a block, so notice how really so Mark actually gets pushed back, but I stay in the same position. But if he counters, I get pushed back and he can go for the follow-up.
Let's do it.
He's gonna heal up. The healing is slowed by half.
That's what Empress Luna said.
Oh, yes.
She'd just love to see a game with slow-mo 5. It's like, just imagine playing the entire game in slow mode. I think you'd be able to hit a lot more counters and riposts having that extra
a good point about the stamina costs and what riposts and counters do is at the level that we're at now, we don't have to really think about it too much. A good note is if your stamina goes all the way to 0 and you block an attack, you'll get your weapon knocked out of your hand. But the higher level you go, the more you want to actively conserve stamina because the other people are using the same skills that you are and doing more counters. And depending on the situation, you doing more counters than riposts will help you keep your stamina up and avoid you getting disarmed.
Yeah, there's one thing I see on Reddit from newer players is how is the enemy landing so many more hits than me when I'm running out of stamina or getting my weapon knocked out of my hand. So the stuff we're going over right now plays a big part in stamina management.
Yeah, absolutely. So counters are great, but you have to consider they're a lot more riskier because holding block is super safe. You just have to kind of look at where your enemy's going to hit. You don't have to pay attention to what they're doing. But a counter is kind of a higher risk, higher reward scenario where, although I have a small window, a counter allows me to strike back faster and maintain my position and maintain my stamina.
Yeah, there's always the risk of doing the wrong counter attack as well, which is going to punish you rather than just blocking.
Yeah, absolutely.
Someone in chat asked, is stamina damage just based on the weapon damage, or do some weapons get a bonus? Cody answered, I do want to say that we're exploring stamina in general, and that there may be changes in the future, just something to keep an eye out for, and we'll be sure to keep an eye out for those, to telegraph those. What do you do when you're in a
yeah.
parry war with someone? Sorry, I'm trying to beat you to that one.
No, go for it. Go for it.
Mike, do you want to take that one?
Parry war, I'm assuming that question is if we're just kind of going back and forth, blocking and riposting.
Yeah,
So,
I think that's what they mean, yeah.
Yeah. So there's a bunch more options we have. There is a jab attack. So if I press R, you can perform a quick jab. And this is meant for generally gaining initiative. So if I land my jab, I have the offensive stance, and Mark has to defend against my attack. So if we kind of want to go with a back and forth riposte battle.
And even though we're in slow mode, when that hits, you can see how far Lord Moo Moon here is getting knocked back, and how much of a disadvantage time-wise he'd be having from you landing that attack.
Yeah. Jabs, they don't do much damage, but they're great for kind of throwing off your opponent's rhythm. And yeah, we haven't gone to fainting yet, but we will very soon. That's one option. Another one that we can talk about is kicking. So if I perform a kick and Mark blocks my attack, Mark will enter a parry break state. And what that means is for a duration, Mark can't parry for a long time, and he can't initiate an attack for a long time. So that allows me to follow up with another attack. So if I kick his block, I can break it and follow up with another strike. That usually guarantees a hit. But with Chivalry 2, we always give the player control. So this is kind of a more intermediate strategy. But if you're ever in the scenario where you get parry broken, I guess, I don't know if that's a word. There's two things you can actually do. You can duck pretty early, or you can dash out. So if we want to start with the duck, if I kick you, if your opponent's going for a slash, you can actually duck the attack. Another one you can do is kind of dash away. So let's try that. If I kick you, and your opponent goes for maybe a stab, Mark can dash away and get to safety. Obviously, these don't always work, but it's situational. It's great when you're versing multiple opponents as well. So yeah, that's kind of a more intermediate little strategy.
Obviously.
Hopefully that makes sense to the viewers.
Yeah, if there's any specific questions, feel free to write them in the chat in case it's not clear enough.
Yeah. I suppose another concept we can talk about is heavy attacks. So to perform a heavy attack, you just kind of hold down the input. So if you want to do a heavy slash, instead of just tapping the left click button, you can hold left click. So what does a heavy attack do? The windup of the attack is longer, but it deals more damage. And it can actually throw off your opponent's timing because it's more of a delayed attack. So if Mark is trying to wait for my attack to come, I can initiate a heavy attack. If you parry, if you parry right here. So two things are happening. He actually takes more stamina damage because my attack was stronger, and he also wastes more time holding up his block. So as you hold your block, your stamina drains. So that's another little piece of advice for block wars or riposte wars. You can kind of throw some heavy attacks to in hopes of disarming your opponent.
You can actually see an indicator on screen. So we try to do a number of UI indicators while you're in combat state. So when you're doing a heavy attack, you can actually tell right on screen. It just says heavy attack right in the middle there. In case you haven't used a heavy attack before.
Heavy attacks also have a nice little extra feature depending on the type of weapon that you're using. Slash and chop weapons, they will go through multiple opponents, no problem. Blunt weapons, they're very mechanical and very bulky and stuff, right? So when you're hitting an enemy with a regular attack, it won't go through more than one enemy. It'll basically hit stop, or I can't remember the exact terminology, and then you'll have to start a new attack. If you do a heavy slash or a heavy attack, it can go through multiple, which is a great strategy to use if you want to go in that direction.
If you want to showcase that real quick, that'd be pretty neat.
Yeah, actually, I'll give you them all because it's two of us against you.
Okay.
There it
Look at those
goes.
slow-mo physics. Yeah, so Mark was referring to the hit stop. If I just do a normal slash,
Should
it's
I?
gonna stop.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's fine. I hope you don't die after this. But
We'll find out.
if I do a heavy attack, I'm actually gonna be able to
I
go
hope you
through
do.
all the opponents.
Rude.
Oh,
But it actually worked out because they could see on screen that after it killed me, it also did damage to Moon as well.
yeah.
Yes, those are great. And yeah, there was some mention in audio indicator. We do try to have a lot of audio indicators on the combat. It's very visceral, so you're getting the weapon type, what you're hearing, you're getting the armor type, you're getting the type of attack usually, to a certain extent. So heavy attacks will have a larger, more exaggerated lead up and a bigger follow through as well.
Yeah.
I like that somebody in chat said, just rush in and swing. That's the best strategy. That's what I do. No.
Definitely is a strategy.
It is a strategy.
Oh, I think someone joined, by the way.
Got a visitor.
There's also, there's one more useful thing about heavy attacks, actually. So we talked about countering. If if I perform a normal attack, it's quite easy to read, and so the opponent can counter it. And the window is just under half a second, give or take. It depends on the weapon you're using and the speed of it. But you can actually throw off your opponent's counter window if you perform a heavy attack. And how do you do this? Well, we can show. So if you want to just counter my normal attack, we'll pretend that was a counter. That's quite easy, but if you're going with a back and forth and you want to kind of be unpredictable, you can throw in a heavy attack, and because it takes longer for the weapon to actually reach your opponent, sometimes they will counter a bit too early and take damage. So that's a pretty good strategy to change up your attack types.
It also does more damage if you pull it off too, which is great.
Yeah, for sure. We could talk about the special real quick as well.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, so every weapon has a unique special attack, and specials are great if you land them. So if Moon blocks a special attack, sure, he won't take damage, but he's gonna lose a lot of stamina and enter like a stagger state, which leaves him vulnerable to other opponents.
Yeah, in slow-mo, you can see how far he gets staggered back as well. You know, he's moving back real far.
My stamina was at like 10. Yeah, it was low.
Yeah. So generally, if you see a special coming in, you most likely you want to avoid it if you can. So you can either walk away or dash. Or if you're crazy at this game, you can run at your opponent and quickly jab them. So if you want to try that, if you see me winding up, a jab will actually interrupt me and stop my attack. And now Mark has initiative. Oh, nice. So that's specials. I'm just going to show another weapon, like the dagger has a different type of special attack. So as you play, you'll start to notice every weapon has a different animation set, and you'll figure out what weapon you like to play.
Definitely. We also have feints and stuff as well, and I know someone was mentioning in chat earlier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so if you thought there were too many mechanics, wait till you see feints.
Just
So
wait, there's more.
yeah. So in Chivalry 2, you can start an attack and feint it into another attack type. And you could pretty much feint any attack into any attack, except some exceptions, but I'll quickly show an example. So I can start a slash, but then midway, if I change my mind, I can swap it into an overhead attack. Just like that. This works with slash to jab, stab to kick. You can feint to anything. And you might ask, what's the purpose of feinting? Well, there's a lot of reasons for feinting. One example is, let's say I realize I'm a bit too far from my opponent and I initiated an attack. I can actually just feint it so that the windup is longer, and then I can actually reach them. If I didn't feint, I would just miss my attack and then be vulnerable.
Yeah, and we use valuable stamina.
Yeah, exactly. And feints do cost stamina, but they don't cost much stamina, so don't be afraid to use them. Another example for useful feints. Let's say I initiate an attack, but I think that Mark's going to hit me first. I could actually feint to like a jab, so I can quickly interrupt him. So if you want to slash, so I can feint to a jab, and then I'll gain initiative. This bot. Another thing you can do is probably the most applicable example of feinting is actually baiting out someone's counterattack. So we mentioned if you see a slash attack, you want to counter it with a slash. But what if I change my attack type? So we'll try that out. So Mark, try to counter my slash attack. So here, midway, I feinted into an overhead, which means he actually fails his counter attempt. So it's great for baiting out counter attempts. Now, what do you do in Mark's situation? Well, you can be a coward and dash away, or you can follow up with another attack type as well. So if he counter with a slash, he can change it into an overhead counter. So if we want to do that, I'm going to slash you and then change it to an overhead. So try feinting that. Oh, that was my bad, actually. Let's try that one more time. So I slash, overhead. I think the slow-mo might be throwing it off.
This is where the timing comes into play as well, guys.
Yeah, let's try it one more time. Oh. So right there, Mark noticed that a slash was coming in. I changed to an overhead. So his response was he changed his counter to an overhead, and he was able to successfully counter me. That's quite an advanced mechanic, but the more you play, the more you realize it's definitely like doable. It's
yeah,
challenging.
This one took me a while to get 100%. It's great when you pull it off though, and you're just like, ha, you did a good try. Try again, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. Another little secret is you can actually you can feint your attack into a heavy attack. So if I do, a stab into or like let's say like an overhead into a slash, I can actually do an overhead into a heavy slash, and that will throw off someone's timing even more. You can't feint into specials, by the way. That'd be a little too strong.
I think at one point you could, and we were just like, oh, we should probably change that. Actually, it kept happening. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, for
that's
sure.
the nice thing about our combat system is we're always iterating on it, based on playtests or how we're feeling while we're playing or how the community reacts to something. It's very fluid. I don't think anything's really set in stone.
Yeah, exactly. And actually, shout out to just the Chivalry 2 community. You guys have great feedback, and we're always open to changes. It's been super useful to kind of showcase.
Yeah, whenever I see
opinion.
feedback, I always send it to Mike. I'm like, "What do you think about this?" And sometimes he pulls it up by himself. He likes to read all of your guys' comments.
There's a bunch of feedback we've been taking a look at regarding balancing and a few other just mechanic wise some elements. So your feedback definitely is making a difference. And shout out to our community testers as well, who are kind of like the more dedicated community branch who are helping a lot with giving feedback on the items that we're looking at as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, guys. We'll continue with this. So what else can we show?
Yeah, I just want to let
Actually,
you know that
yep.
there's 15 minutes. So if there's something that you want to make sure that we get in here, definitely we'll focus on that.
Sure. One last thing with dashing, actually. Here's a kind of a more intermediate thing. So a dash, yes, it creates space, but it also acts as an attack cancel. So if you perform an attack and you're not satisfied with how it's going to go, you can actually dash away. So not only will it stop your wind up, you'll also be able to gain distance. And another thing is, let me set my health. There's some bots here.
Hey, buds. Thank you.
Another thing I wanted to showcase was when you can actually dash. So if I land an attack on an enemy, I can immediately dash right after. So the moment I land, I can back up. So this is great when you're versing multiple opponents because, I can hit one, kind of dash to the side, regain my positioning, and continue the fight.
I'm already disoriented. There's blood on my screen. I don't even know where you went.
Yeah. Another little trick is immediately after landing a hit, you can also bring up your parry at any time. So, let's say I'm fighting both of you. I can strike at you, immediately bring up my parry, and prepare to block the next opponent. So one thing to know is just, if you land an attack, you pretty much have the freedom to dash away or hold block. There's no cooldown or anything like that.
There's only 30 troops left. So everybody knows. We got a few different questions in the chat here.
Sure.
Let's see. There's been a couple questions about shields in particular, and I know that's on our list. Do we want to go over kind of projectile blocking, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, why not? So we can talk about shields first. Why use the shield? Well, if you block attacks with the shield, you actually lose a lot less stamina. But note that shields can break, so you can't block forever. If they break, you're kind of left in a vulnerable state. What else can shields do? You can block arrows and crossbows, so if you want to shoot me. So I can just hold block, and as long as I'm facing the archer, I can block their arrows. A little secret is you can actually block a ballista bolt. Although you can only block one, it's super useful for charging into team objective modes where you got to hold
If only
the line.
I could bring in a ballista right now. That's okay.
Just spawn it in. It's fine.
Yeah, don't we have a one-handed ballista or something?
Wait a minute.
What else? Shields, you can throw it. Do some Captain America sort of things.
I've seen some really good compilation videos of people throwing shields and then picking them back up and then throwing them. That's good stuff.
Yeah, for sure. And lastly, I'd say another useful mechanic is, so let's say the shield's on my back. It can I can actually passively block arrows. So if you're trying to run away from an archer, you can just kind of face your back and run away. As long as they hit you in the shield, you're safe.
You look like a turtle.
Yeah. One thing I
Very
like to
spiky
do.
turtle.
Yeah. If you want to shoot me, let's see if I can pull this off. Never mind.
Oh, damn.
Sometimes I like to do that,
180.
just the kind of style on archers. But yeah, it's a little cool tactic. Now,
I think we
Yep.
have 2 quick notes we could do. You can, if you have thrown projectiles that get thrown at you, you can counter those as you come in.
Yep, you want to. Yeah, exactly. It's the same counter window. Oh boy, are we gonna do countering arrows?
We can go for it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to do one more? Yeah, sure.
Does
Okay,
it work in
so
slow-mo?
I
it'd
think
be
it's harder in
very
slow-mo.
difficult. Yeah, never mind, never mind.
Yeah, we could do this. So countering arrows is actually kind of a new thing. It's very hard to do. The counter window is actually smaller, so I'm gonna try to counter here.
Oh,
Oh,
he
actually,
did it. I saw it.
Oh, I'm too
Damn.
good at this.
Wait,
There we go.
he's a god. 3 for 3.
Nice. But yeah, that's super useful. You don't take any damage, and you can get to that archer and take him down.
Awesome.
That looked really good from my perspective. Like each of the arrows I saw come and bounced right off. It was very good.
Nice.
Any type of counter works against arrows. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you don't have to do a specific arrow attack in order to make it work, which is great.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it basically works just like if someone was throwing a different weapon at you, not just the arrow. So if you've countered a thrown weapon, you can counter an arrow. I believe in you. Takes practice.
You can
though.
dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball.
Not everyone can be King Argon II. So
Cool. Looks like we have about 12 minutes left.
Nice. We'll talk about directional crouching, I suppose. So we're not like normal games where there's just up down crouch. Obviously Chivalry 2, you want to have all options possible. So if you move in a direction and you initiate a crouch, you can actually, your animation follows your direction, and it's super useful. You can pull off like some crazy dodges. You can like Matrix behind us.
yeah, I was
slash
waiting to
attack.
say the Matrix, especially if someone's like throwing a weapon or shooting an arrow at you and you Matrix it. Then you're just super cool.
I remember the origin of this one was back from the Shiv 1 days, and people would have a certain combat style where they would reverse overheads. And we didn't want that as a feature in our game, but we did love the looking back and kind of like looking at the sky and having that crouch action. So we were able to bring it back in some capacity, which is awesome.
Yeah, for sure. I think there was a Reddit post where someone actually matrixed an arrow in the air.
Yes, for sure.
That
I've
was
seen
super
it.
awesome.
Every time somebody posts one, we always post it around in our company Slack. We're like, "Wow, look at this guy!"
Yeah.
Safe to say, I have not ever done that, but maybe someday. I am getting some good tips here, so we'll find out.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. I'm wondering if there's anything else. If the chat has anything they want to know.
Anything specific that you have heard about but need more information, just want more details about something, definitely let us know. I'm reading through some of your previous comments just to see.
I think we did.
I don't want to miss anything.
Did we talk about counter feints? Because we talked about feinting with counters, but there's like another variant of it, I believe. Cody mentioned.
Counter feints? I think we kind of discussed it. Where.
Cool. Yeah. So we did that variant with the overhead.
Yeah. Oh, one thing. I guess another thing we can show is you can actually counter into the same attack type. So if you want to do a slash into a slash, you can do that. If you hold Alt on the keyboard, you can perform the Alt version of the attack. So boom, boom, and that really throws off people, especially if they're trying to counter you.
Yeah, it's a great timing thing.
Yeah, because they'll try to counter your slash, but then you change it into a slash, and they're like, "What?" And then they might counter into the wrong attack type.
Not related to that, but I have seen a couple questions asking about how do you deal with kicks as a person who is being kicked. Counter kicking, basically how to protect yourself from getting kicked. I think would be good to go over.
Yeah. So there's multiple avenues to avoid being kicked. So just to showcase, if you follow up with a kick, kicks block kicks. So if I kick right when he kicks, we can
That
sort of
looks
block each other.
hilarious from this side. Looks like you're doing a dance.
We are. Jabs also block jabs if you want to showcase that. So we can kind
You're
of give props.
high-fiving! You're best buds!
What's up, man? So that's one way to deal with
Yeah,
it.
so if you
Yep.
see or expect someone's going to kick you, just kick them back. Is
Yeah.
the easiest way, yeah.
Yeah. It's quite challenging actually because it's so fast. But if you're up for it, you can try it. Kicks, sometimes you can just tank the damage, honestly, because if you kick me, I don't actually get interrupted. So if I try to swing at him, let me get a better weapon. I need to do some damage. My swing will still go through. Kicks don't interrupt. That's very important to know. But jabs do. If I get jabbed during my swing, let's try that. Oh. If I get jabbed during my swing, I'll get interrupted. So.
Yeah, that's the important distinction there.
Yeah. Another thing you can do is dashing. So let's say I'm holding block and I see a kick coming. I can just kind of dash away and stop my block. But sometimes, you just gotta. Sometimes if you tank it, you can also dash away, like we mentioned before. Hopefully, you can get away from the damage.
Yeah, I
One
think
thing that we find.
Oh, sorry,
sorry,
Mark.
Jen.
I was gonna
You go
say,
ahead.
I think that one of the problems that some people have is they can kind of get stun locked by kicks. So if the enemy keeps kicking them and they don't know how to get that initiative back, that's one of the things that some people struggle with if they're not, necessarily aware of the abilities to dash away and that they should just continue their attack, even through the kicks.
I think another important aspect too is a lot of the beginners will continuously hold parry, and it brings their stamina down pretty quickly. But it also makes them
Yes.
more of an open target to kick. So you generally want to try to mostly not hold your parry until you see an attack coming all the time. And I'm guilty of that too. But it's just you get used to it, and then you kind of be able to time the attacks and blocks more.
Yeah.
That was early on. The addition of held parry was actually quite controversial because in Chivalry 1 we had a timed parry where you would have to execute your parry at the exact moment that you were being attacked. So having the held parry is kind of a double-edged sword where if you're holding it up all the time, you're losing stamina and you're definitely putting yourself at a disadvantage. So you want to try to time those parries as close to you being hit as possible. Yeah, it can take some time if you're not super familiar with when you will actually get hit. But it just takes practice, honestly. If you feel like you're getting dominated a little bit, just take a step back, watch their swings, and try to time that timing a little bit closer.
Yeah, that's a good point. I also want to mention a lot of beginners I see play too defensively. So I encourage you to try to take the offense more often. So don't hold block and let your opponent just drain your stamina. After you block, like follow up with a Repost Attack. So I think that's
You have to watch for those windows of engagement where you're going to get the advantage.
yeah, because at the end of the day, like Chivalry is about a flow. It's a back and forth. You don't want to get bullied and just take all the damage, right? You're just gonna die.
Yeah, that's when you get into a situation where you're like, how does this guy have so much stamina and I have no stamina? Well, it's you're turtling, you're not taking the initiative. Playing too defensively will get your butt kicked eventually.
So basically, find the biggest weapon you can and continuously slash everywhere as much as you can.
Yeah,
Is
that's
what
what we
we're hearing
discussed.
here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just run in and slash.
Well, we have 4 minutes. Maybe we can do a duel or two. Just as the
Sure.
practice or something. Here, let me get my health to a reasonable spot and just go to my usual stuff.
Yeah, I don't know how much health I have. Can you jab or kick me?
I
Just
can.
wanna.
Boom.
Oh yeah. I have to
Oh, he
lower
really wanted that kick.
it. Okay, I'll start with this. All right, shall we duel?
What's the dueling etiquette?
Yeah.
Well,
So you
first of
always
all,
want to
this.
flourish.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're new, by the way, we do have dueling servers, which are awesome, super friendly people there. But it's a great place to kind of do 1v1s without anyone interrupting your fight. But yes, the etiquette is to flourish your weapon. And
Yeah,
you
and
do
the
that
etiquette
by.
is mind your own
Yeah.
fight. If you see somebody doing a duel, don't interrupt. You'll get your turn.
Now, I would have dodged there, but I ran out of stamina. So that's that goes to show stamina is
Yeah.
important.
In your defense, he has very little health. I can see it on screen.
Yeah,
you
I
got
got a
him
little
down
nervous
real
there.
far. That was very evenly matched.
Ooh, a different style. That's another fun thing about Chivalry 2. Everyone kind of has their unique play style, and because there's so many different weapon options, you can really vary your gameplay. So some players like to kind of stay back and poke at people with a long spear.
Mhm.
Other people like to quickly slash at opponents very close up. So you got to kind of adapt to your enemy's playstyle.
Recently, I've been having fun with like super close combat weapons, like the dagger, and I know that most people kind of like the big, huge Highlander sword, but don't sleep on the dagger. The dagger's fun.
Oh yeah, especially the ambusher class. The backstab damage is actually like pretty underrated. If you can kind of sneak behind enemy lines, you can pretty much one-shot people if you special them from behind.
Here, let's switch up
Ooh,
weapons. What do
yeah.
we want to do? Broom.
Bro,
Yeah, Mark, I thought you were supposed to let me win. Didn't we talk about this pre-stream?
you
I
got to
believe
make him look good. He's the guest. No.
the toll was a beer.
Oh, I feel guilty. I'll use this. Oh, here's another thing. If you're downed, you still have the option to live. You can fight back. It's not over. So if he does enough damage, he can revive.
Even if you lose your arms, don't count yourself out.
Yep, always fight.
It's
Oh,
actually
nice
pretty
kick.
satisfying to down the person who downed you and then punch them right in the face.
Oh no!
Oh! Oh! The broom is victorious.
That was wild, actually.
That was awesome.
Wait, I died to a broom?
Yep.
Oh, you guys, I'm having server issues.
It's the lag,
Oh no, look
Yeah.
at the time.
Yeah, my computer's overheating, actually.
That was a very nice one to end it on. I do want to remind everybody in chat that Chivalry 2 is free all weekend long on the Epic Game Store for PC. So if you have some friends that you want to kick their butt that don't play Chivalry 2 already, definitely let them know. Maybe not just kick their butt, but also let them know about this stream. We'll keep the VOD up, and they can use it to learn some tips and tricks, and maybe you and your buds can duel together. Every single day this weekend, right up until Monday, it's free. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your cat, whoever. We don't discriminate. There's also going to be a sale, which I believe is 33% off. So while you can play it free all weekend, if you're having a good time with it, pick up a copy, 33% off. Easy peasy.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. We had an awesome time. We're going to be around for the weekend. You might see us in some matches, so check us out.
Yeah, thanks for having everybody in the chat. We really enjoyed your questions. I hope that we got to answer as many as possible. And if not, definitely hang out. We'll be around again for more dev streams in the future. You can always find us on our various social media, Discord, Reddit, Twitter, Facebook. We try to engage with you guys as much as possible. I want to also...
sorry,
I
I was
just
going
want
to
to
do
say,
one more.
I want to thank Mike for being here too.
Yeah, Mike, thanks so much for joining us, buddy. It's been awesome.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Thanks, Twitch audience. It's been a pleasure. And yeah, hope to see you playing in the free weekend. Say hi. I'm King Argon II, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Look out for King Argon II.
The one, the only. He's also King Argon II in our Discord. So
the man, the legend,
the actual guy is here.
I saw some people in chat before, just as a wrap up. We saw people asking about some future stuff. We're not ready to talk about things quite yet, but I think we can all agree we're pretty excited about what's coming.
Yeah, there will be some more details about upcoming content soon. Not anything to share that's not already in our roadmap yet. If you don't know where that is, it's chivalry2.com/roadmap. You can see what our plans are there. Any more details we will add as soon as we're able to. Thanks again for hanging out, and we'll see you around. Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.